Good morning, everybody. We will get started in just a couple of minutes. Thank you for joining us. We'll be on very soon.
Good morning. Good morning. Let me make sure we are streaming to the Facebook page. Check. All right. So good to see so many of your faces. I know it's been a long time for some of you. We have kind of looking at who we've got joining us. Got some graduates. We've got some current CPEC participants. Awesome. Well, so good to have you all join us today. Welcome. We are hosting this ICF Masterclass for anybody who is interested in possibly applying for an ICF credential. And so when you complete your training with the CAP Institute, you're going to have enough training hours after completing both CTI and CPEC. You're going to have enough hours to meet the ICF requirement for oh, did it just bump me off? It's okay.
You just went to like an old time TV.
I saw that. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Let's see. No worries. We've got backups. There we go.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. So as you complete the coach training intensive and the certified personal and executive coach program, you're going to have enough coach training hours to meet the ICF requirement, which is 60 or more coach specific training hours. And so they're going to have a couple of different additional requirements that we're going to talk through today in order to give you a better understanding of what it's going to take for you to be able to apply for an ICF credential. So we designed our CTI and CPEC programs specifically to ensure that you're meeting that coach training requirement. And in all honesty, an ICF credential is just a really powerful way to further distinguish yourself from other coaches within the coaching industry. It helps you be able to qualify for specific opportunities that request an ICF credential in order to be able to do so. So as we're navigating the coaching world evolve, what we're seeing is that many government agencies and larger organizations that are offering opportunities are looking for those participants to have an ICF credential. And so we really just want to make sure that you understand the process that it takes in which to do so and how we can support you in doing that. So some of you may know that around early 2020, we launched our mentor coaching experience, and it is specifically a program that prepares you for applying for your ICF credential. The mentor coaching hours, you have to have at least 10 in order to apply for the very first level. And in addition to helping you get that ICF credential, it's going to help you sharpen and hone your coaching skills to be able to better serve your clients. So today we have two of our team members, Lisa Sansom and Sheila Carmichael. They're going to be leading the session today, answering your questions. As most of you know, if you're in CPEC or have already completed CPEC, Lisa is one of our instructors in the CPEC class. She also, of course, is one of our instructors for the mentor coaching program. She lives in Ontario, Canada. And funny enough, she actually taught our other mentor coaching experience instructor, Sheila Carmichael, who first went through CTI. And Sheila, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 2012. Or somewhere
2012 and 2017.
And oh, great, because you went through it twice. Yep. So Lisa had the opportunity of helping Sheila actually get through the training process as well. And now she has joined our faculty and they are just a powerhouse team. You guys are in for a treat, I promise. So in addition to that, Sheila herself actually is an ICF credentialed master certified coach, which is as high as you can get with the ICF. The number of hours that it takes to get to that level is a journey, to say the least. So congratulations to Sheila, of course, for reaching that milestone. So they have a lot to share with you today. They're going to be taking any questions that you might have. And if anything comes up while they're discussing anything, please feel free to put it in the chat box. We will review that and make sure that all of your questions get answered by the end of the program. So If you're looking for any ways to better support your coaching, if you're interested in applying for an ICF credential, just don't forget that at the conclusion of all of this, you can register for the upcoming mentor coaching experience. It'll be starting October 30th, and the group sizes are limited. So please make sure that if you're interested, that you go ahead and secure your spot for that. Just for this weekend only, because we're having this opportunity to touch base with you all, answer your questions. We are offering a $100 discount that is specifically for this weekend only. You can head right over to the mentor coaching experience registration page, which I will put in the chat box. But if you want to go ahead and look it up, it's capinstitute.com/MCE. It'll take you right to the page, and you'll be able to take advantage of that discount. So that's all that I have to get us started. So I'm going to go ahead and let Sheila and Lisa take it away with diving into what it takes to get your ICF credential.
Thank you so much, Alexis. And I do want to acknowledge that Sheila is definitely a case of the student surpassing the teacher. Sheila is amazing and wonderful and has really dedicated herself to getting those credentials and doing amazing coaching. And so Sheila and I are just going to kind of go back and forth. We'll share a few things from our own experience, what we know about the ICF. What we do want to emphasize, though, there's a couple of things. Number one, some of you might feel a little daunted by getting your ICF credential. And like Alexis said, by going through the CAP programs, you have what you need to apply for the ICF credential. This has been designed to help you get there. And the mentor coaching experience is sort of the, cherry on the cake that helps you to get everything that you need for the ICF credential. So we have designed this so that it's really easy for you to just coast into getting that credential. And you can absolutely do this. I did it myself twice, and I'll share that story in a little bit. But Sheila, let me turn it over to you and talk a little bit about what was important for you about getting that ICF credential.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And thank you, Lisa. For me, my corporate background and knowing the importance it is to have certain levels of credentials and training and skill building, it was my focus from the very beginning. I literally went from 0 to PCC because I had all these experience hours, but I didn't have the training hours. And that's why I went through it twice, because for different levels, it's different requirements. And I kind of wanted to jump this step. And I knew it was important. And when you think about what you're trying to do with your coaching and where you're trying to go with your coaching, that's what's really important. And I knew that that was going to be important for me in my practice and marketing myself as an expert in the industry. So absolutely, it's something you can do. I mean, you've already got the hours if you've gone through the training, right, Lisa? And if you're getting ready to go through the training, you're getting the hours. So it's almost like, why wouldn't you add this in as just another step of the process to make it come through?
Yeah, I myself went for the ICF credential twice, because I also went through, back in like 2011, 2012, I went through, before that, 2007, 2008, what am I talking about? Back in 2007, 2008, I also went through coach training that was set up for the ICF requirements at the time. And so I just coasted through doing the exam, and we'll talk a little bit about the exam in a bit. But I did the exam and got certified, and your certification has a certain time window on it, and I let it lapse. I wasn't credentialed for a long time. And then my client started asking for it. And I coach for businesses and I coach for individuals. And during that time, more and more people were asking, are you ICF credentialed? And it was a requirement for jobs. It was a requirement for contracts. It was a requirement to be on coaching rosters, especially with governments, organizations, education. So I went back and did the whole process again to renew that certification. And then, yes, went on to get another level. So I do highly, highly recommend it. We are going to talk about those requirements to get the ICF credential. I see some questions coming into the chat box. Alexis is on those. Thank you so much, Alexis. I don't know how we would run anything without Alexis so diligently working behind the scenes. So send a lot of love to Alexis because she is absolutely amazing. So we have designed the mentor coaching experience, which I know some of you have done. And if you have anything that you want to say about that to encourage other people that this is worth doing, please feel free to put that into the chat box as well, because I know some of you have expressed to us how much you found that to be a beneficial experience. The mentor coaching experience gets you the 10 mentor coaching hours. And again, this is designed exactly with the ICF requirements in mind. So 7 of those hours are group hours. And I will let you all in a little secret that we are doing a deep dive into that curriculum to make sure that it does line up with the ICF core competencies. We're going to go even deeper into some of those. So we're redesigning that. And if anyone who's already done it feels like you're missing out, you have not missed out. We're just moving a few things around so that it's a more logical order for us. And 3 hours are one-on-one. You get to work with me and or Sheila to help you with exactly what it is that you want to grow and work on. And we encourage you to record sessions. And everyone who's done the mentor coaching experience is probably nodding their head with a little bit of trepidation right now, because it is hard to record those sessions and listen to yourself. But you also know the ton of learning that you get from it, listening to yourself, and then bringing it back for Sheila or myself so that we can listen to it with you and really do a deep dive into what's working and where you might want to put a little bit more attention. So Sheila, shall we dive into some of those requirements?
I think so. I think so. You talked about the hours required and kind of where you were at and renewal and things like that. So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and kick us off with that.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're trying to go after, and we won't spend a lot of time on the different levels of ICF, we want to encourage you to go to the ICF, the International Global website, because they are making updates and changes, and that's where you will get the most information, the most current information. But when you think about for just the basic level, the hours that you get from, like Lisa talked about, the CTI, and when you combine that with CPEC, it's more than enough hours for you to have for at least the baseline level for credentialing. These are training hours. And the reason why they're so important is because they are aligned, our program is aligned with the competency model from ICF. So when you're using the Acera model, it literally lays right over the competency models from ICF if you're following that. And when you go to the site, you can actually see the extra behavioral examples of what those competencies look like. Now, during the MCE program, we go even deeper into that. We provide additional context around that so that you are ensuring you understand what those competencies are, because as Lisa mentioned later, when you go through the application process, you're going to be tested. You're going to be quizzed on that. So we want to make sure that you understand those 100% and are comfortable with those. Lisa, other thoughts to add around just the hours of training and the competency model?
No, and again, like if you've been going through the CAP Institute programs, some of these are just going to be basic check boxes. And you have certificates, and I've seen people put questions into the chat about number of hours and so on. You have that if you have been through CTI, CPEC, and we'll talk a little bit about the extra bit that MCE gives you too. So Sheila, do you want me to talk about the mentor coaching piece since I just kind of stepped into that?
Go right ahead.
So as I mentioned, 10 hours of mentor coaching is required by the International Coach Federation. And we've designed the program to match exactly what the ICF needs. So 7 hours of group coaching is what the ICF will allow us to do, and 3 hours of one-on-one. Now, what we do, we have to limit the number of people who go through the MCE because the ICF requires it, and because we want to make sure that we have the time to give all of you the attention that you want in the program. So each group session, we have 7 one-hour sessions. We do a little bit of a teach piece. We teach you about a competency or a practice or a technique, or we do a dive into a SARA or one of the things that we know is really important for professional coaches. We do some Q&A, but we also encourage you to bring your own coaching dilemmas in to talk about it and to get some coaching on it. So this is really tailored for you. And I will say I learned so much from the people who are in the MCE group programs. I am still learning and developing. So even if it's not your individual coaching dilemma that particular week, I bet you're still going to learn so much from hearing other people talk about their dilemmas, because it's going to twig something for you or for one of your clients or whatever. So that's the 7 group sessions. And then what we do with the 3 hours of one-on-one coaching is we divide that into 2 sessions. So each session is an hour and a half. And that might sound a little confusing, but the reason we do it that way is because we want you to bring a recording to that session that we listen to. And that's a coaching recording that's about 20 to 30 minutes. And we do a deep dive into that. And still want you to have time to ask questions about your business, your coaching style, your approach, anything else that you want to talk about. So this program really is for you, but that overall gets you the 10 hours. I mean, yes, a checkbox, 10 hours of mentor coaching, check, done, did the MCE, really easy way to do that. But we've also designed the program to accelerate you as a professional coach in exactly the way that you need it and that you want it. So Sheila, anything else to add in there about the mentor coaching?
This is my passion spot here.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting here on the edge of my seat going, yes, I have a couple of things, but I'll keep it short. I'll keep it brief. When you think about, I love that ICF said, we are leveling up our game in the coaching industry, and we want to ensure that anyone who is going to be tagged, so to speak, as a credentialed coach, because this wasn't always the case. It was certain levels that you had to have mentor coaching, and they have updated their game and their requirements to ensure that we are building an industry of truly qualified coaches that are following a set standard, that are following a certain code of ethics. And those standards are the competency model, like the Sarah that I said that lays over them. So I say all that to say, the mentoring experience, and I've gone through a couple of other programs too, but I love the way we're approaching this is because we're saying you can learn from others in the group setting, right? That's what Lisa was talking about. But then you also get some one-on-one time for us as your mentor coach to help focus in on your specific development area, because everybody brings something different to the table. So this way we can help you. When Lisa mentioned that dilemma, it's your unique dilemma and what you're experiencing as a coach. We're human. We're going to have things that get in our way of being as effective that we want to be. So as a result, what Lisa and I do in that one-on-one session, 90 minutes, we're reviewing your recording. We're helping you with your own personal, blocks and internal thoughts around things around to help you level up your own game so that you can really internalize what those competencies are. So I'll pause there and just kind of, help us to get through the rest of the program. But I want to make sure you understand that this mentoring program is really unique because you're getting the best of both worlds, learning from others and also focusing in on your individual development.
Yeah.
So
When I did my ICF certification, group mentor coaching wasn't really a thing. So I did it with one other coach and she was great, but I feel like I did miss out on something by not doing it with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. How about these total hours of experience? I see there's a lot of questions in the chat around that. Yeah. And I know in our one-on-one sessions, I've gotten quite a bit of that. So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and just segue into that.
Go right ahead. And I see Alexis is on top of some of the questions, but I am going to go and scroll back to the top of the chat when we're done getting through those 5 points and make sure we get to everything.
So real quick, Sheila and Lisa, just so you know, any questions that I'm not answering, I'm setting to the side so that way you guys don't
thank
have to
you.
dig. Yes, you don't have to dig.
This is why we love Alexa to keep us together. So these hours, this is important because again, I'm going to direct you to the website, the ICF website, because they give a really thorough understanding of what's needed and how much. And because of what we're all experiencing globally in this pandemic, they've made a slight little adjustment to accommodate for that. So they're constantly changing it. You will need to track your hours. Easy peasy stuff. You received a template through your training at, I think it was either CTI or CPAC. You can also go to the website. It's a very basic Excel sheet. And I'm not the techie guru Excel person. So if I could do it, anyone could do it. It helps you to keep track of how many hours are you actually coaching. And on the website, it also shows you any adjustments that they're making. And I saw in the chat for pro bono hours. And what does it mean for paid hours? I have to share this. I was coaching and recording and doing things in a corporate environment, and I was keeping track of it from a performance perspective because of my role. Did not realize until I went to the website that those internal coaching hours that I was doing within my job are actually paid hours that I can log for my credentials. So now you know how I got from 0 to PCC because I was logging the hours, whether it's a 30-minute session, whether it's a 60-minute session. And then it also gives you the details on how do you log your group sessions, because that's different. So I'm not going to spend time on that because they are very clear about how you track your experience coaching hours for individual as well as for group. And it's important to start that as soon as possible. You don't want to wait until you get to your application process and go, oh, I got to go back through my calendar and through my notes and through this and through that, try to figure out things out. That is stress you could really prevent. Just after every session, go to your Excel sheet, go to your log, and just track it. Whether you do it daily, whether you do it weekly, but don't wait until after you've done a whole year of coaching and try to go back and recap those.
I gotta say, Sheila, that was me. And I'm normally pretty organized. And then the other thing that threw me for a loop, like, honestly, I am telling you, coaches, start the way you want to continue. Yes, Tondalyn, I wish I'd been tracking all along. I had to go back and not only track everything and go through my calendar and through my emails and through my handwritten notes, and it was a mess. But the other thing is you need client permission to provide a contact information. And so here I was following up with my client saying, is it okay if I give them your phone number or your email? It's like, oh man, I was so stupid. And now if I'm looking at going for future credentials, like that's thousands of hours you're trying to track. So no, just start, get a system going. Build it into the way you engage with clients so they give you permission to do that right from the beginning. Like, just make it happen. So yes, learn from me, do as I say, not as I did.
Now, Lisa, I if I could add to that. So you're right. You do need permission from your clients, internal, external, wherever you're getting them, to put their contact information on the log. Now, is ICF going to, call all 120 or 500, in my case, 2,500 hours ago? No, but they are going to quality check. So you don't know who they're calling and when they're calling, right? So you want to get their permission. What if your company says, hey, we have a privacy policy and we don't allow our information to get disclosed? It's fine. They've already thought of that. They've actually got on the website information to help you with having to show that in a letter from your company. It's that easy. So again, this is not a hard thing to do. It just requires you to say, I want to do this. I am going to do this.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the recordings.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of questions coming in. We will get to those. I promise we will get to those. And I just want to say this now while it's on the top of my head. If you have any questions, email the CAP Institute. we can help you get through this process, okay? Any technical things, if you're wondering about number of hours or certificates or paths or anything like that, email the CAP Institute. We would like to see you succeed at this. All right, audio recordings. So we want to help you do audio recordings. And some of you, even in CPAC, you may have heard me mention this, record your coaching sessions, like start now. Again, you want to get your clients' permission. And most clients, in my experience, say, yeah, sure. You will keep this confidential. You should get their permission on the recording. So ask them before you start recording, then start recording, then ask them again. So it's on the recording. You can refer to them by their first name only. You can make up a name for them during the recording if they're nervous about that. But you do want to get into the practice of recording. And tell your clients that this is still being held confidentially. It's only going to get heard for evaluation purposes. It will get destroyed afterwards. Like, have your protocol around that. But you do want to have that recorded session. Now, for us going through the MCE, we don't need transcripts. We're not going to be, reading through it or anything. We're just going to listen to it with you. And of course, we're going to listen for things like tones and pauses and things like that, which are hard to put into transcripts. It's possible, but it is hard to put in. But when you go through the ICF, they do want that transcript. So Sheila, do you want to say a little more about the transcript piece? Because that's new since I did it. And another reason why you want to stay in touch with the ICF website and what it is that they need, because I didn't have to provide a transcript way back when.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because, they didn't require recordings for certain levels, and now they do. They didn't require transcripts before, and now they do. And there's a certain format that you need for your transcript. So this isn't something that you can just go to, your own little personal app and get a transcript. You can
make my transcript, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And they actually, ICF provides a discount for several different transcribe, organizations. So I would leverage that. I did. It was called Transcribe Me. I would leverage that. But there's a certain format for your transcription, your transcript to say whether it's the coach or the client. It has to be timestamped. There's all sorts of things. So I want you to encourage you to, again, check on the website for this information. The transcript and the timing of your recording, when you think about it, there's a minimum and a max because people are reviewing it and they're listening and they're reading, and there are multiple people doing that, which is great because you're getting a quality assessment review of your recording. Now, keep in mind, they're listening and they're reading. They will not be watching a video. And a lot of times people are like, can I send it? No, don't do that. They will kick it back and you'll wonder, why am I not getting approved if something's going on with my application? There's a certain way to name your file and to name your transcript. Again, I'm not going to go through those details because ICF has done a fabulous job with when you go to apply. There's a brand new portal that I absolutely love. It's like a tracker, like the Domino's tracker that lets you know when your pizza's coming. They have something just like that, which shows what information you need to upload. Where are you at in your process? Where have they reviewed it? If it's been reviewed and approved. And then once you get through all of these steps, then they send you, which we'll talk about later, is the link for you to take the coach knowledge assessment. So don't worry about that assessment right up front. Just go ahead and get the information. What I did, this is just my tip. It worked for me. I put a file on my hard drive that said ICF application. And then as I was doing things, I would drop it into that file. That's where I kept my coach log of all my hours, so I knew where to go to, because sometimes I'm the absent-minded professor and I'm trying to find all these different things and I can't remember where I filed things. So I have one folder that has everything in it. And the recording that Lisa and I are talking about and what we help you do within the MCE Experience, program, is so that you can listen like an assessor about the competencies and the behaviors that you are demonstrating in the recording. So we're building your muscles as well for honing in on those competencies. So I can't emphasize enough, as Lisa said, record everything. Don't evaluate before you record. Don't evaluate during the recording. Wait until after you get through your coaching session. And then working with Lisa and I through the MCE program, we will help you with how to listen to your recording and pay attention to those things that may be a dilemma, a challenge, and areas where you're really hitting the mark on those competencies.
And I do want to just add to that. I've had a couple of people bring in recordings that could be submissions for their ICF credentials. So record everything, because you never know when you're going to have a really great session and you want to keep that as part of your portfolio. So just get into the practice of recording.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All righty. I think folks, I don't know about you, Lisa, but I have heard so many times during the one-on-ones as well as during our program, the assessment, the test. And I think there are many out there like me who have test anxiety. I have test anxiety, so I completely get about that. So Lisa, how about you jumpstart the CKA or coach knowledge assessment discussion, and I'll add to it.
Yeah, so there's a few things to say about the CKA. First of all, don't worry about it. Like going through CTI, going through CPEC, going through the MCE, like, because our programs are designed to work really closely with what the ICF requires, you are prepared for the CKA. Now, some of you might think, well, I did that a while ago. That's fine. Just go back into your notes, go back into your materials. If you've been doing coaching, you're probably very familiar with all of this. Now, I mentioned in my own journey, I did not get to do group mentor coaching. I did one-on-one mentor coaching. But what we did do is we created groups to study for our CKA. And so I and some other people from the course that I went through, and we were sort of a loosely based cohort. It was kind of like, you could do week 1 here and week 2 here, and different people did different weeks, but we got to know other coaches who were going for their credential at about the same time. And we formed study groups. And it was great because we would go through the competencies and we would go through the sample questions that are on the website, and we would test each other. And we felt a lot more confident and prepared having done that to prepare for the CKA. Now, the test, of course, changes over time, and that's perfectly fine. But if you've gone through the programs, and especially if you've done some study and some prep beforehand with a group and people who see things differently than you do and are emphasizing different things, you are very well prepared for it. So Sheila, again, you're familiar with that, having gone through this much more recently than I have. So talk a little bit about your experience with it.
Yeah. The first thing I'll say, Lisa, thank you, is that they are upgrading the CKA.
Yeah.
Because the competency model has been updated. And so they're updating that, and they're asking several coaches to kind of help review. And again, they're leveling up their game, which is fabulous. I love that, right? Now, what is the CKA? What is it that these questions are coming from? Where are they coming from? And what are they about? 2 key things. Can anybody guess? Competencies, right? That's the number one thing, right?
And that's like the answer to everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the coaching code of ethics. Now, you received information about this through CTI. You received it again in CPEC. If you didn't take CTI and CPEC, whatever training program you went to, and they have an accreditation with ICF, that means they've been acknowledged that their program aligns with what their requirements are, then they also covered the code of ethics. If you're still uncertain and you're thinking, wow, that was like months ago, I can't even remember that, Sheila, go where? The website. They also offer free webinars to help you strengthen your code of ethics knowledge. And then once you get your credentials, guess what? Like Lisa said, there's a renewal process. And in that renewal process, what do you think they want to know? What do you know about the code of ethics? Have you gone through some training around that? And reinforcing the competency model. So that's why this is amazing. We're giving you not only reinforcement of the competencies, but we're also helping you with understanding, what is this industry standard ethics about? What are they about? And it's important for you to know that if you're stepping into this field, into this industry, and you want to differentiate yourself from just the average person that says, hey, I just want to be a coach. That's not what we're doing.
Sheila, I'm so glad you mentioned that code of ethics, because I also want to emphasize it's important for your clients to know this as well. And I would encourage all of you, as you're building your business, as you're engaging with clients, as you're working as internal coaches or whatever you're doing, at some point in there, before your clients start working with you as a coach, make sure that they understand you adhere to the ICF code of ethics. And they can go to the website and review what is there. It increases their confidence in you as a coach so much to know that you do adhere to this code.
Absolutely. And even more and more organizations, companies that have internal coaches have adopted those code of ethics, those coaching code of ethics, and they're incorporating them into their internal coaching practice, just like you should be incorporating it into your own private practice.
Yeah.
A lot of
All
information,
right.
Lisa. Whew.
So that's, let's just do a quick recap there of those 5 requirements, because we gave you tons of details. And this is being recorded, so you will have access to that. But the 5 requirements, you're going to need 60 hours of coach specific training. If you've been through CTI, CPEC, check, you have that. You're going to need 10 hours of mentor coaching. If you go through the mentor coaching experience, check, you have that. You're going to need a minimum of 100 hours of coaching experience. That is, of course, up to you, but 50 hours of that you're going to need through CPEC to successfully complete that. Go and get the rest. I've seen some questions going through about pro bono and so on. ICF does change that, so stay on top of their website, but you can get that fairly easily. The performance evaluation, the audio recording, if you go through the MCE, the mentor coaching experience, we're going to ask you to record tons of stuff. So it's entirely feasible that by the end of MCE, you're going to have a recording that is ICF credential quality. And then completion of the coach knowledge assessment. That is the 5th piece. And again, study for that. Get together with a group of other people. Everything we have designed will help you succeed on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whew, Alexis, I think there are tons of questions out there. Should we take a few of those that you've captured for us?
Absolutely. I was trying to answer the ones that I could.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. The ones that I thought might take a little more explanation, I did put to the side for you guys. And I think some of these, because I was tracking them kind of from the very beginning, so some of them we may have already answered.
We can answer again.
I know we talked a little bit about the requirement for pro bono versus paid. So I understand that even maybe by the end of this year, the ICF may be changing that again. So as of right now, do you know what the, I believe it's 75 paid and 25 pro bono, but I'm not.
I'm going to say that's a good thing to go look on the website for.
Yeah.
There was a recent announcement. So let me just give a tiny little bit of background without throwing some numbers on it, because I don't want to like mess anybody's mind up on that. Prior to the pandemic, there was a certain percentage that ICF had set that needed to be paid and a percentage that could be pro bono. Now, paid is a rather loose term. It could be that you get paid $1. You could get paid $1,000. You could get paid in somebody bartering, so they could cut your hair or mow your lawn or provide other services for you, right? So that all falls under paid. And then pro bono is just absolutely free. So there was a certain percentage before the pandemic. And then COVID hit, as we all know all too well. And ICF recognized that there were a lot of people in need of coaching, but unable to pay for it because there were a lot of people who were out of work. And so they changed the percentages to allow for more pro bono coaching. With the pandemic starting to ease, and I say that very, very cautiously, there is some thinking that ICF might revert back to their pre-pandemic ratio. So again, not entirely sure what the numbers are right now, not entirely sure when they're going to change, but do go and take a look at that. So a few people have put things into the chat. Carlene, I do believe it is going to change at the end of this calendar year, but ICF could change their mind. So stay in touch with the website. They are your best source of information.
Yeah, and they've been very flexible and fluid with what's going on with the pandemic. So even with that, I'm more likely to believe that should we get to the end of the year and things still don't seem maybe a little more settled, they may extend that, they may change it all together. So make sure you're constantly checking the ICF website to see what decisions they decide to make. But they do tend to make them quickly and don't, take a whole lot of time to, determine what decision they're going to make. So just keep on checking the website. Real quick, we have some other ones. Naomi, I see your question about is it unrealistic to go through MCE and be credentialed within a year? I don't think that to be the case at all. I think we've actually had multiple coaches who have gone through CTI, gone through CPEC, gone through MCE, either while going through CPEC or immediately following, and then we're able to apply for their ICF credential. So I would not say that it's unrealistic at all. I think it really is based on what time frame you have. So if you're able to be constantly working towards your coaching hours, if you haven't gotten them all through CPEC, and you go ahead and enroll in the next available mentor coaching experience, then you should definitely be able to meet all of those milestones within a 1 year time frame.
Alexa,
and one other, go ahead.
Let me add to that. So we're priming you to be successful so that when you submit your application, you will have everything in place for ICF to evaluate, and they determine if you are credentialed. Remember, I said that there are, depending on how many recordings, there are multiple people who are reviewing that. So multiple people will hear and see your recording differently. So we're giving you multiple perspectives as well to help set you up for success. So as you go into that portal to apply, you will have everything you need to upload into that portal for you to apply successfully, right? This isn't guaranteed that you're going to get credential. I just want to put a little caution out there, right? But going through this is giving you a higher probability that you will get credential, but it's not a guarantee. We're giving you everything that you need so that you can also be prepared and position yourself successfully when you go to apply for your credentials. I want to make sure, am I off base with that, Alexis?
No, you are absolutely right.
Okay.
At the end of the day, it absolutely comes down to the ICF and their evaluation of your application process. Now, so maybe some better language to use is that you could definitely complete all of the requirements within a 1 year time frame. But as far as actually receiving your credential, that's all up to the ICF. And Christina made a good point. Right now, it's taking them about 14 weeks. So that's something that has changed throughout the pandemic. Prior to that, it didn't typically take that long. However, in light of everything going on with the pandemic, they're giving themselves more time as well. So keep that in mind too, depending on what season we're in, when you decide to submit your application, will definitely help determine the time frame that it may take them to evaluate it afterwards. So thank you for that as well. But yes, thank you, Sheila, for making that designation. So you can absolutely meet all of the requirements that you'll need within a 1 year time frame. But after that, it's just a matter of the ICF evaluating and deciding that you either need to maybe resubmit something, or yes, you're good to go. So yeah, okay, well, good. So let me hop back over to the questions. One other thing about pro bono hours. So before I delete these. When you're going through CPEC and you are in your coaching group and you are consistently coaching them throughout that 6 months, and they are in turn coaching you, those are considered paid hours because it's a bartering of coaching services. So you can use those on your client coaching tracking spreadsheet as well, just in case anybody had any questions about that. Let's see. Another question was, with the mentorship, we have the hours for the ACC portfolio path, not the PCC. Is that correct? So ACC and PCC, a lot of that is more so, and Sheila and Lisa, please chime in if I misspeak here, but it's mostly about the actual coaching hours, between the difference between the ACC and the PCC level. You're going to need the mentor coaching hours regardless, but your client coaching hours, it's really what's going to determine whether you are able to apply for the ACC or the PCC. And both Lisa and Sheila are at MCC and PCC, so they can also account for that.
There's two things though. Yes, the coaching experience hours, that's on your training log, right? But then there's also your training hours. So remember I said I did CTI twice, I did CPEC once. That's because I was going from 0 to PCC and I needed more training hours, coach training hours. And then the how many hours was I actually coaching? That's the experience hours. So that's the difference in those levels. Again, what do we say? It's our go to the website. They're really good about what's needed for different levels, how many hours of training, how many hours of coaching experience. Mentor hours are consistent throughout all. Who can be your mentor coach? All those different requirements and criteria is listed on their website.
Yeah, and the mentor coaching experience counts towards the PCC as well. And again, like stay in touch with the website because they're going to give you the most up to date. And if you're in a really kind of interesting, bizarre, unique situation, contact the ICF. You know, give them a call, send them an email. They have seen thousands and thousands of people go through this. They can help you navigate their process.
I would say email. I've got some clients that are doing one-on-one mentor coaching with me, and email, what I'm hearing is a much quicker response than calling because of just everyone's not working in the office, as you can imagine. So I would email them to get a quicker response.
Yeah,
And
so
can I just
definitely
do a really quick, Anka had put in a very specific question about living and working in Germany. And I just want to say, you can do the ICF process from anywhere in the world. And you can say that you are ICF credentialed. So don't worry about where in the world you're sitting. We have people all over the world doing this program and doing all sorts of programs with the CAP Institute since it went virtual. So yeah, where you're sitting globally doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, and also, Anka, that was another question that I had highlighted for us to circle back on. I noticed you also mentioned that you would like to get your PCC later down the road after going through the ACC process. And so with that, and I only bring this up because we've had a couple of our coaches do this. So like we mentioned, the coach training intensive and the CPEC program help meet that 60 or more coach specific training hours that you'll need for that first level. For the PCC level, you'll need, as of right now, it's 125. And so what we've had people do is actually come back through the intensive, come back through CPEC in order to meet the hours for the PCC level. Like Sheila mentioned, she just went through the program twice in order to go ahead and jump from no credential to that PCC level, specifically in the area of the coach specific training hours that you'll need to apply for it. So if you want to stay with us, we encourage you to do so. You know, things update. We have our curriculum re-evaluated to make sure that everything's up to date. So you can get to that 125 hour level if you just wanted to go through the programs again, or you can search elsewhere. So that's also Anka, one of the differences between the PCC and the ACC levels.
Alexis, I want to add to that if I could. So I've had a couple of folks asking in our one-on-one sessions, I did this program here, or, I'm doing this, or is Valerie's program this and all that. Okay, breathe and relax. Again, ICF has done a fantastic job. They've got this, I think it's a TPSS or TSPP. There's a link they have on their site that you can check what type of training program you have gone through. So the CTI is a continuing coaching education status. The CPEC is a higher level. And so what if you've done similar programs and you're trying to get your training hours? We're not going to spend that time here to explain which kind of classes, which kind of what. They've already done that for us. And if you go to their website and they've got a link for you to check to see what type of training you received, so that way you can determine how many hours you need, what path are you taking, all those different things. I'm going to highly recommend not burdening Alexis with those questions, because she's not the ICF expert, right? The ICF people are.
All I do
Go
is
to ICF for that. And they've got links. And if it's still a little confusing, just shoot them a note. Just shoot them an email and say, hey, I had this program. I don't see this. Can you tell me where this would fall and what would it align to, which path? Let them handle that, because they've done all the work for that. They've done all the research.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Because that's all I do. Because like we said, the ICF updates things so frequently, we're just the middleman. So it's always best to go directly to the source and figure out what is the most up-to-date information. So one other question I'm seeing here, and just to circle back, I think somebody answered your question, Christina, but just to make sure, some clarity around the coaching hours for CPEC. The coaching hours that you conduct with your coaching partners are considered paid hours because it's bartered coaching services, just for clarification there.
Hey, Alexis, I'm sorry. I want to add another one. I can't help the passion.
No, you're good. This is what we're doing this for.
Because here's something that happened to me. I was just kind of falling a little short on some of my coaching experience hours. Like Lisa was saying, like if you're falling short or here, falling that, you can go to ICF. Guess what? It's called reciprocal coaching. And they have it on ICF. I see Tracy going, yes. So when I saw that on ICF, I started reaching out to my coach buds and peers and peeps and said, hey, how about we do some reciprocal coaching with each other? Because that can help you with increasing your coaching experience hours, not just for your training log in your coaching log, but it also helps you with building your skills. And when you record them, like Lisa said, now you've got a buddy to help you with listening how you're coaching. What are the things you're doing? So I want to encourage you to do that either on your own. On ICF, they have a process that you can sign up for reciprocal coaching. Do whatever you can. It's not hard. It's very easy to do, right? Tracy's shaking her head going, yes, it is. Take advantage of that. I see Christina.
And you've got a huge support system. We have our Facebook group that is specifically for our graduates. There are so many coaches in there that are most likely going to be very willing to help you along this process, because likely they're going through the exact same process. They could also use those coaching hours. So don't be afraid to reach out, whether it was people that were in your specific CPEC cohort, or whether it's somebody else. We're all family here, and everybody's, wants to make sure that we're helping push you towards the goals that you want to reach. So don't forget how much support you have around you. One question I have here is, how far back can I go with hours? So I'm not exactly sure who asked this, but I'm pretty sure this was referring to how far back you can start counting your coaching hours. Lisa or Sheila, do you have any insight about that?
Yeah, this is, I'm sorry, Lisa, I just jump in on this. If you don't
You
mind.
got the answer, you go do it.
So it's like, where does the clock start? Right? So the clock start, and again, it's on the ICF website.
On the ICF website.
Starts the first day of the training that you are using as a part of your application. So let's say if I took my training in 2012, that first day, right, is my start date of my clock for tracking my coaching experience hours. Anything pre that doesn't count. But it's the first day of your training. Let's say if you went through CTI first, and then you went through CPAC and MCE, first day of CTI is when your clock starts, if that's what you're using. Let's say if you said, well, Sheila, I had some training 2-3 years ago, some coaching training, and I see the ICF has accredited that. Okay, the first day of that training is your start date. That's when your clock starts. So go by the first day of the coaching training.
ICF accredited coaching training.
Yes. And depending on your path, they will let you know which one is which one it will be. I don't want to get into that because it's a lot of alphabet soup in there, and I'm sure I'll mess it up right now.
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
Awesome. So I hope that that was helpful for whoever asked that question. Let's see. Carlene, I know you had a question that was specifically around getting client permission with coaching college students.
Can I talk about
Yeah.
that? Because even though Carlene's question was specific around college students in a research study, and yes, check with your, with your ethics review at your Institute of Higher Education and make sure that they're okay with it and so on. But generally speaking, sometimes some of us do coaching inside an organization. And what I have been able to do in the past is give the point of contact for the organization. So for example, I do coaching for a business school. I have dozens of clients through them. I do not ask each individual client. I ask the person who I send my invoices to. Is the person I send my invoices to has a record of all of my hours because I'm invoicing for that. And so she can validate I did all of those hours. So she's kind of like my auditor. So I put her down one time for the hundreds of hours instead of contacting the dozens of people and asking them to account for 4 or 5 hours each. So that as a general approach might also help some people with the tracking.
Yeah. Sheila, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
I did mine a little different. I don't make a big emphasis on it. I didn't do that. I just, when I got into my sessions, I would say, hey, I'm going to add this to my coaching log. Do you give me permission for that? That might mean that someone will reach out to you. I just cover a quick little thing right in the beginning of it. And then that way they go, oh, no problem, Sheila. And I don't put a lot of emphasis on it. And as I'm doing it on my log, I have their contact information and I do it this way. I think if, like Lisa, if you had a volume like that, yeah, you'd want to simplify that a little better. But what I did was just made sure my little mental checklist as I'm going to my coaching session, if I was going to record that session, get their permission on the recording. We'll tell you about that if you don't. And I also asked them, even prior to the session, I'll say, hey, I'm trying to build up my coaching experience and my coaching hours. Do you mind if I list you on my coaching log? I haven't had anybody said no. It's like, sure.
Yeah.
How many hours you need, Sheila? We'll get you some more hours.
This is also the difference between doing the tracking as you go and doing what I did, which nobody should do, which is trying to play catch up. So I was totally trying to go for the one person. But it is another approach that just if somebody is doing a large volume of internal coaching and it's easier to go to one person who sees your invoices or your internal tracking logs or whatever it is, that is a fine contact as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Good. Well, thank you guys so much for that. I know we are getting at the top of the hour, so I'll try and get through these last few questions. I believe I answered this one. What is the time limit in seeking the ICF credentials after your certification? So because our programs are accredited by the ICF, you can use them whenever you decide to apply. So if a couple years go by between you going through the coach training and you actually meeting all of the requirements, you can still use them then. I don't believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that there's necessarily like an expiration date on your coach training hours. As long as they were approved by the ICF, then you can use them at whatever point in time you decide to apply for your application.
There's not necessarily an expiration, but there is a time parameter of your coaching experience from the time of your training. Again, where would we find that information? On the ICF site, because they want the training hours, your paid hours, to begin from a certain time so that they know that you're actually doing this and not doing a rush to the final race type thing. Hey, Lexus, there was one I saw real quick. I'll go ahead and answer too, if that's okay. The CKA, it's not a stump the chump questionnaire. That's not what it is. It's not a tricky questionnaire. That's not what it is. It is literally off of the competency model. Those are not stump the chump questions and statements. If you know that competency model, then you'll be able to pass that exam. You don't have to get 100%. There's a percentage, and I think that might change. So I would say go to the website and they'll let you know. They will give you every and any information once they've reviewed your application. And after they've got all those parameters, they'll send you a personalized link with a really detailed information on an email telling you what and how and everything else. And it's open book. So it is not, I see somebody, it is not a stump the chump questionnaire. It's not a tricky questionnaire.
Now, I will just say, read the question carefully, because sometimes it will say, what is the best approach? And you'll read and you'll be like, well, 3 of these are perfectly fine approaches. No, what is the best approach? And sometimes there's a little cue in the question, like the coach should always, or the coach should never. And so just read very, very carefully.
Yeah, they're prompting you to the competency domain and the ethic. They'll keep you on track with, was this an ethic or is this a competency? And then from there, that will help you get through. You have 3 hours, unless that changes. But when I took it, you had 3 hours to take it. And a lot of folks were trying to speed through it. And I would recommend, no, use all 3 hours. You got it.
Yeah, set yourself up, make sure you have the time, make sure everybody in your household knows you're doing this. Like, just take it easy, have some chocolate, it's fine.
And they go over what you'll need to be ready for your application process in MCE. So it's not, you don't have to worry about trying to figure it all out by yourself. That's why we develop these programs, to help you feel confident as you're navigating this journey and getting to that end goal of applying for your ICF credential. So if you have any uncertainties around it, we just continue to encourage you to join us for these programs. This is what we develop them for. And we'll make sure that you are ready to take the next step and apply for your ACC credential. The last thing I'm going to say is, the last question is, and I don't have who this one was from. I have 4 employees that I meet every week for following up and coaching. Are these hours, or could these hours be used for the ICF? So I believe that as long as you have at least gone through the coach training intensive, or you have started a coach training program, then yes, you would be able to use those. No, you would not be able to use those. Oh, I'm sorry, Sheila, I'll let you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They're really particular about if there's a reporting relationship with you and the person versus a non-reporting relationship. And I think what I heard you say, the question was, I supervise. So this is a reporting structure. And if you're responsible for their performance evaluations, those are not hours that you can count.
I would also add in there, you want to make sure that any coaching you're doing, especially internally, is truly coaching. That's why the ICF has put some of these guidelines around it, because there were people who were saying, I'm coaching, and it turned out they weren't coaching. They were mentoring, they were advising, they were championing, they were consulting, they were whatever, all really good and great things, but not coaching. So again, stay in touch with the ICF website. What you think of as coaching is not always what the ICF will allow for some of those reasons.
I think we need to give Alexis a round of applause. I mean, we could not have done this without her. Thank you, Alexis, so much. Thank you, my peer, mentor coach, Lisa.
Ooh, thank you, Sheila. I'm so glad you bring so much knowledge and depth of experience to this. Yes, Sheila and Alexis could not be doing this without you. CAP Institute is so much stronger for having you there.
Oh, thank you.
I could not agree more. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate having all of you join us. As we wrap up, I know we're a couple minutes over, so if you have to go, we completely understand. This was recorded and it will go out for anybody that was asking. It's also available on the CAP alumni page, which we are streaming to right now. So if you want a refresher, if you just want to go back and see if you missed anything, definitely do that. We would love to have you join us for the upcoming mentor coaching experience. The next one starts on Saturday, October 30th. The sessions are at 9 a.m. Eastern time. I did go ahead and put the link right there in the, oh, let me actually.
Yep, I see it.
Yeah. And we
There we
have
go.
had people from the West Coast join us, even though it's 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in Mountain Time.
Yep.
It has been that worthwhile that people are willing to get up that early and join us with their coffee firmly in hand.
And it's just so great to have, you know, something that is so cohesive. You've gone through CTI, you've gone through CPEC. Now you can go through the mentor coaching experience. You can be around people who are going through the exact same journey as you, and be able to really feel that sense of community while you're doing so. That just adds so much support and confidence as you're navigating this, that we really just encourage you to join us and just make the process a whole lot easier. So just a quick reminder that just for this weekend only, we are offering $100 off for the payment in full. If you're looking for something a little more flexible, we do have a payment plan option. Just head over to the link that I put right there in the chat box. You can go to capinstitute.com/MCE and you'll find everything that you need. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Lisa, for just all of your knowledge and competency about this entire process, which can seem overwhelming, but when you break it down is just really, really doable. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email or give me a call. I will go ahead and put my email in there as well, which of course, most of you should already have that, but don't hesitate to reach out. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend and head over to the mentor coaching page if you're looking forward to joining us at the end of the month. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
I'll stay on just for a minute if there are any last minute questions you want to throw in the chat box, or if you just want to take yourself off mute and ask, that's no problem at all either.
Alexis, hi, this is Tondalyn. It's just a simple question. Do we get a certificate or any documentation after we finish the MCE?
Yes. So what'll happen is typically once the last individual sessions are complete, because they're scheduled sporadically, which we should be wrapping ours up towards mid-October is when the last one should be, you will receive a digital certificate that you can use whenever you're applying for the ICF credential. And if you have gone through it previously and you still haven't received it, shoot me an email and we'll make sure that we get that over to you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I was just in the last one with Sheila and Lisa. So I'll wait. I just wanted to make sure.
I think we're still have a couple, just a few more individual sessions to get through. And then we'll send them out to everybody.
Thank you. You're very helpful. Appreciate,
problem.
Appreciate all of you, all of the ladies. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions? Nope. Do we just have the hangout crew here? We talk about the hangout crew with CTI. Everyone's like, okay, I'm just gonna hold on just to make sure there's
Just
nothing.
in case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just in
Another
case anybody
question
has
sneaks
something.
in here. I think it was just good to see folks. I if I'm not mistaken, I think there was folks here when I went through training.
Yeah, I was looking through all of the participants. I'm like, yeah, some of these names go back from when I first started.
Really speaks to the power of the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah. All righty. So this is the last call for questions before we are going to close it down. Going once, going twice.
Thank you,
Alrighty.
Alexis.
You're so welcome. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. I look forward to talking with y'all soon. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.